Hello guys, today we're going to be talking about the 20 concepts that every chess player should know. After I read this list of 20 concepts, the goal is to learn and keep in mind the importance of these concepts that will help you to play in a better sense of the game. The first concept is around the saying, loose pieces drop off. So this is talking about pieces are not defended or in danger. So the moral of the story is, you want to have your pieces defended and also out of danger. The next concept is about assuming your opponent plays the best move. It's very tempting to make a trick move and hope that your opponent will fall for a trap. But with plenty of time to think, they'll probably play the best move. So with that, you assume that your opponent will play the best move, and you don't play for hope chess. Next is the control of the center. So this will help you have an ability to develop and generate attacks. So most cases, you want to have development of the pieces towards the center. So if you do that, it'll be easier able to generate attacks and make sure that you help develop the other pieces. Look at forcing moves. So if you have a move that you had to play, it's the order of operations. You want to look at checks first, then captures, and then threats. So it's really good for tactics training as well as limiting your opponent's ability to do something in the game. So you have to have this mindset for every move you have. Only trade pieces if it benefits you. Beginners forget that you can refuse a trade if it's offered to you. It's not like playing the game of checkers where if you can't take a piece, you must take a piece. So mainly you want to trade off your bad pieces and keep your good ones. Avoid going into bad endgames. So if you foresee a bad endgame, if you trade down pieces, you want to avoid them. It's not by fate you have to go to endgame and lose. You have to not accept it. Rather, you want to keep the pieces on the board that we have a better, desirable outcome in the game. Don't move the same piece twice. This is especially true during the opening. There's a lot of exceptions, but in general rule is you want to move each piece once and you have more time to develop other pieces and complete your development and just go on the game. When you're ahead of material, you want to trade down. So this is true for the vast majority of cases, but it's not universally true. So I can see there's some cases in the end games you want to not trade down pieces. So there's a lot of exceptions when the pawns are involved that if you trade down, you're going to be giving your opponent a draw. So keeping that in mind, but in general, you want to trade down pieces if you're up material. On the flip side, if you're behind a material, trade pawns, not trade pieces. So there's a lot of endgames where if the pawns are off the board, then the lack of pieces that you have are just enough to skate by a draw. For example, there's maybe a knight versus a bishop knight endgame. There's no easy way to win that endgame. So there's actually a lot of scenarios where the pieces that are not as quantitatively much, there's basically enough for you to draw a game if you're down material. Ask why your opponent played their last move. So for every move that your opponent makes, make sure that you understand why they play that last move. So they threaten to do something, take a piece, they threaten checkmate. So you want to have your own plans, but at the same time, make sure you don't turn a blind eye to their plans, not make sure that you don't lose the game. Next up is to keep your king safe. Doesn't matter if you have an extra 2 rooks and a queen, they only have to do a checkmate to win the game. That's all they need, that one factor. Scary, isn't it? Having a bad plan is better than no plan at all. So bear with me when I say this. If you have a bad plan that sounds really stupid, like, I want to play this move because it looks pretty. So it's 1,000 times better than having no plan at all and saying I don't know what I'm doing. And that's basically a terrible way to play the game of chess. But you want to have a plan, doesn't matter the quality of the plan, but it's a plan nonetheless. Don't bring a queen out too early. I know there's a lot of openings that break this rule, but in general, you want to make sure that you develop the other pieces, like for example the bishop and knight, before you move the queen down. It's important to make sure that your back rank is safe. Don't be forced to take a piece and expose your back rank problems. So it's important to make sure you have luft or a way to defend your back rank. Do not make too many pawn moves in the opening. So the pawns can be used to make an outbuilding structure and control the key squares. But it's very important to make sure you develop your other pieces and make your king safe by castling. Knowing when to trade pieces regarding the amount of space you have. So if you're down in the space and you're really cramped, you want to trade off the pieces. So if you're up in space rather, and you have more space and more activity of the pieces, you want to not trade pieces in most cases. So that way your opponent is cramped, and you have more activity, you have way more plans to do with your pieces. Whereas the upside for them, if they trade off your pieces, if you have more space, so if they trade off pieces when they're down in space, they'll be an equal footing that they should not have. A wing attack is countered best by a counterattack in the center. So going back to the concept of controlling the center, basically that concept outweighs the fact of doing a wing attack, which at most times becomes a ghost attack, was not really effective as much as the control of the center. So it's basically you want to just make a priority to make control of the center instead of having a wing attack. So if you counterattack in the center, you have more options to defend yourself, and also to have putting problems to your opponent. So basically attacking is the best defense. The next concept is around the saying, past pawns must be pushed. So as you know, with no secret attached, that the pawn's value grow exponentially if they are more closer to the promotion square. So if you have the opportunity to advance it, to get closer to the goal, to promote to the queen or else other things, is really beneficial for your cause. Make sure you think when you have a critical position. So it's important to budget your time wisely and not waste time for needless decisions. So you want to make sure that you budget your time wisely to make sure you have more time for a critical position in the future and don't lose in time or make a bad decision because of lack of time. If you don't know what to do, improve your worst piece. There's a lot of time when beginners have a really close position and they don't know what to do next, and they resort to just doing a random move that does not produce anything. But instead, if you don't know what to do and you've developed all your pieces and you don't see an attack and a pawn break, what you want to do is improve your worst looking piece. So over time, if you do that enough incrementally, you're going to be having a plan come out of nowhere and you have a direction to how to continue the game.